In the vast tapestry of life, we often encounter moments that seem deeply unfair. These are the times when we question the universe, wondering why we must bear the brunt of life's injustices. It's a natural human response, isn't it? To seek fairness, to yearn for a sense of equilibrium in a world that often feels imbalanced. Yet, if there's one undeniable truth that the Buddha teaches us, it's that life, by its very nature, is inherently unfair. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but one that holds profound wisdom. You see, our suffering arises not from the unfairness of life itself, but from our attachment to the expectation of fairness. Think about it for a moment. How often do we find ourselves caught in the cycle of disappointment because life didn't unfold as we had hoped? We invest so much emotional energy into expecting fairness, only to be met with frustration and disillusionment when reality doesn't meet our expectations. But what if we were to shift our perspective? What if, instead of clinging to the illusion of fairness, we learn to embrace the inherent unpredictability of life? It's a radical notion, to be sure, but one that holds the key to true liberation. The Buddha famously proclaimed that life is suffering, but he also offered us a path to transcend it. It begins with relinquishing our attachment to outcomes, to expectations, to the idea that life owes us anything at all. Instead, we must learn to accept life as it is, with all its imperfections and uncertainties. This doesn't mean resigning ourselves to a fate of perpetual dissatisfaction. Far from it. It means cultivating a mindset of equanimity, of inner peace that remains unshaken regardless of the external circumstances. It means recognizing that while we may not always have control over what happens to us, we always have control over how we choose to respond. And therein lies the crux of the matter. Our response. In every moment, in every situation, we have a choice. We can choose to react with anger, with bitterness, with resentment. Or we can choose to respond with grace, with compassion, with understanding. It's not an easy path to walk, this path of acceptance and equanimity. It requires a deep-seated commitment to self-awareness and self-mastery. It requires us to confront our own inner demons, to grapple with our own insecurities and fears. But the rewards are immeasurable. For in learning to let go of our attachment to fairness, we free ourselves from the shackles of suffering. We discover a profound sense of peace that transcends the ebb and flow of life's ever-changing tides. So, the next time you find yourself railing against the unfairness of life, take a moment to pause. Take a deep breath and remember the words of the Buddha, life is meant to be unfair. And in that acceptance, you may just find the liberation you've been searching for all along.